Hello again, trigger-happy stick jockeys. I am Blunty, and I'd like to once more approach the topic of the arguments surrounding what does and does not run at 1080p, or upscaled 720p, or 900p, between the PS4 and the Xbox One. And yes, I did only recently make a video about this very topic, kind of. And yes, I may be fighting a battle destined to be lost when I'm trying to make certain types of gamers out there think, then speak, and to simply choose not to be giant scrotum hammers to one another, but hey, just because I'm outnumbered doesn't mean I'm not gonna fight the good fight. I am a leaf on the wind. Watch how I soar. Plus, reframing things in a different context is sometimes helpful anyway, especially considering how many people seem to utterly miss the core point the last time around. So this time I thought I'd poke at this argument from a different angle with a slightly different stick to see if I can snag a few more of you out there into seeing the simple sincerity of the matter. And that, in truth, having more P's does not reflect how well the game plays or how much fun it can be to play. And for decades now, many gamers have been using the bigger number is better game thing, and it's often complete bullshit. The games you're looking at here, for example, by now I'd expect you'll have noticed one looks significantly more visually complex and richly detailed than the other. And yes, these are two different games from two different companies and they're running on two very different bits of hardware, but none of that is the point. See, one of these is running at 1080p, full high def, and the other one is churning away at a measly 576i. That's standard definition for those of you who've only been gaming since HDMI cords thrust themselves into the bums of our TVs. And for my money, that 576i game looks nicer. The world is rendered much more richly, there's more detail, more life, it's a more natural and beautiful scene, while the one running at 1080p looks sharper, absolutely yes, but it's also far more sterile, simplistic, basic, blocky even. Running at a much higher resolution, churning out massively more pixels, in no way makes the game look better. And just for the record, it plays like crap too. I'd pick the lower def game any day of the week. And all of that difference has to do with how the game is made, how the control is implemented, how the gameplay works, how the worlds are built around the tracks and how those tracks are constructed, how the audio feeds into the experience, how the rich, complex world around the track gives a sense of immersion and a world that is occupied and full of life, not just a backdrop so there's more than just a skybox behind the tracks. High resolution is nice and indeed very desirable, but only if all other aspects of the game are up to snuff first. Quite honestly, if I can get a richer world with better lighting and better environmental effects, I will absolutely accept a lower resolution render. Especially on console games where the distance between you and the TV will often mean the difference between 720p and 1080p in a game may not even be as significant as many people seem to think it is. So let's look at another example, this time using the exact same game from the exact same team of developers. The only difference here is that the three gameplay examples you're seeing running here are running at different resolutions on different devices which have different processing power. One is running at 1080p, one is running at 640p, and one is running at 768p. And I'm not even going to tell you which is which, or even which kinds of hardware they're running on, because that's not the damn point. The performance of the game and how it looks is a balance between the hardware and the required screen resolution and what lighting and texture effects are in effect turned on. Sometimes things like fabric and motion simulation may be different or turned off altogether, or the difference is in the number of particle effects that can be displayed. And once more, sometimes to make a game look better or run smoother, that means dropping the resolution. Once more, 1080p doesn't automatically make the game the best version. But then sometimes it absolutely is. But the point is, it's silly to argue about it, especially like what's been going on recently where people are screaming about it before they've even seen the games in their final release form, much less played them themselves. And coming back to the game you're looking at, two of these I'm playing with touchscreen controls, and the other I'm playing on a hardware controller. And it's a quite different gameplay experience when it comes to how comfortable that is for me, how natural it feels, how quickly I can react, move and aim, and while aiming using the touchscreen in this particular game is actually more accurate, everything else about it is better with the control pad. And in some other very similar games I've played, the touchscreen controls are so poorly implemented as to make it such a grody clusterfuck, it's next to unplayable. Games are not their resolutions. The world's prettiest game can still be a piece of shit. Given the choice, I prefer my games to look nice, yes, absolutely, because in today's richer worlds, more complex storytelling and world building, it helps to have a game world that doesn't look distractingly crappy or glitchy or with screwy draw distances or texture pops and all that kind of jazz. So the new generation of powerful consoles will help with all that. It won't automatically make the games any better just because they can run in high resolution. Games will look richer, more complex, there will be more believable lighting, they've got better access to environmental effects like smoke and explosions and particle effects. I mean, just watch someone streaming some of the new Killzone from the PS4, for example. The game looks stunningly good. And on a Twitch stream, you're not even seeing it at 1080p. It doesn't stream at that resolution, yet it still looks beautiful. And on that, the frame rate argument, 60 FPS, isn't necessarily even essential for many types of games. In shooters, absolutely, running as smooth as possible is very desirable, but there are so many other types of games that can and do benefit from dropping to 40 or even 30 FPS to allow that processing power to be spent elsewhere instead to make the game run, look, or play better. So please, stop arguing about how many Ps a particular game has, or if the 60 FPS rate sometimes drops to 40, or if it's locked to 30 even. And instead, just start talking about which version has better gameplay, which one runs smoother, or has nicer environmentals, even if that means it's running at 900p instead of 1080p. Which one has the better implemented multiplayer system? Which controller do you feel more comfortable with? I'm not saying don't have the discussion. I'm not saying you're not allowed to argue about, which version of a multi-platform game runs better on which platform and what not. Breaking all this down can not only be interesting, but educational and even fun. I'm just saying that the numbers on paper aren't the truth of the thing. They can lie. They can absolutely lie to you. Sometimes bigger numbers lead to worse experience. And if you are going to take up a stance opposed to someone else's opinion, do it with respect to your fellow gamer. These people are just like you. They love this hobby. They're passionate about this hobby. And you making their lives shittier by screaming them across the internet over matters like this is not the thing you should be doing. You should be encouraging as many people to join your hobby as possible, because the more gamers are out there, the more people are going to buy games, the more publishers are going to be out there doing well, and it's better for all of us if everybody out there enjoys gaming as much as possible. Don't try and chase people away by being a dickhammer just because they play on a different branded console than you. Keep an eye to what really matters in how much fun a game is, and I assure you, the raw number of Ps is absolutely the last thing on the list of things you should be asking for in a good game. So, all that said and done, what do you think is the most important factor in a game? Drop a comment, let us know why. Thanks for paying attention. I am Blunty. I hope I've gotten through to just a few more people. If I can reach just one more gamer, I'll have done my job properly. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.